I suppose, just waiting out these last moments of what has been an incredibly long ordeal, nearly 500 days. We can see there that Sagui Dekel Chen seems to be holding some sort of trophy, some kind of ornament, which presumably Hamas gave him. We understand that he has been given a gold coin to give to his new little baby girl who was born 2 months after he was taken hostage, who he will not yet have met. And he's now being escorted by Hamas, presumably to the hands of the Red Cross. And you can see how well those militants are kind of stage managing this whole procedure, which I must say is far less chaotic than what we saw before when some of the female hostages were released earlier in phase one of this deal, where the crowds were swarming around them, where they were really fighting to get through. This seems to be more carefully managed, and I wonder whether that was also part of the negotiations which the mediators, said needed to be maintained, that there was some semblance of sort of order for these men in the final moments of their captivity. And I think that there is Sagui Dekel Chen, who is a US-Israeli citizen, being walked off by Hamas, filming as they go, and into the hands of the Red Cross. We understand that 6 more hostages are to be released as part of this deal. And there you can see, gosh, they must be relieved to just be passed finally into the hands of the Red Cross. And there you can see also family members, hands up against their faces, tearful, hopeful. I think the third from the left, I believe, with the long dark hair, is Iair Horn, who is the partner of Alexander Sasha Troufanov. She was released in November last year. She spoke of the months that she spent in captivity in a very damp tunnel, lying in conditions where mold would grow on the tiny amounts of pita bread that they were fed so quickly, really never seeing the light of day. That is Sasha, 29-year-old Sasha Troufanov. We believe that he spent 2 birthdays in captivity in the nearly 500 days that he was there, held by Palestinian Islamic Jihad. We don't know if he knows that his father Vitaly was murdered on October the 7th, and that is, an additional cruelty that some of these hostages have faced after their release, hopeful that when they return to Israel, they would return to family members, and only then to discover that their family members were either murdered on October the 7th or died in captivity. So additional horror on top of what they have already experienced. And we know from some of those videos that were released by Islamic Jihad of Sasha Troufanov when he was in captivity. In one of them, he said that Mum and Dad wait for me at home. So presumably at that point in November, he did not know that his father, Vitaly, had been killed on October the 7th. So this, of course, is by no means the end of the road for these men who have endured so much these last year and 3 months. But for them, finally, it does look as though those vehicles moving now towards the border between Gaza and Israel from Khan Yunis, which is the town in the south of the Strip, where these images are coming from, heavily bombed by Israel, as you can see from the rubble in the background. But that Red Cross convoy now making its way towards the Israeli border, towards the Reim military base, where they will then be handed over and reunited with their families and transferred from there to the Suraski Medical Center in Tel Aviv and the Sheba Medical Center for further treatment. And that is the green flag of Hamas waving in the foreground as the Red Cross convoy continues. There on the left, the gold black of Palestinian Islamic Jihad, one of the other of several militant groups in the Gaza Strip. And a lot of these hostages, you know, weren't just held by Hamas, they were held by families, by other militant groups. It took some coordination between Hamas and those other groups to get the hostages together. And I think it is very important as part of Hamas's propaganda, really, that they film these exchanges in the way that we have just seen, and that they are seen to be visible in their trucks, holding their AK-47s, not defeated, despite Benjamin Netanyahu's, declamations that Hamas would be destroyed. That is clearly that is clearly not happened over the long, long months of Israel's bombardment of the Gaza Strip.
Diana, thanks very much indeed. So Alexander, Sasha, Troufanov, Sagui Dekel Chen and Iair Horn, 3 hostages released by Hamas in the last few minutes and handed over to the Red Cross.